Good morning and welcome to my podcast. This is Bob Pace here to fight CPS and get your children back, to help you out. Um, the purpose of my podcast is to interact with you all that are going through a CPS case and trying to help you, share you my experiences and help you, uh, keep your children or get your children back. CPS, I found, is not a easy agency to work with. It's really, really hard. CPS, I call it the Child Protection System. In California, it's called the Child Protection Services. Other states it has other acronyms. So when I refer to the CPS, I refer to all the agencies that deal with to protect our children from neglect and abuse and to do family reunification. That's the purpose of the branch of social services, the CPS. Now, I have, some followers. I've talked for several months now, and I have talked about over 500 people from all the different states, and I've also talked to people in countries too. And one of the ways you can interact, there's three ways you can interact on this podcast. One is you can interact by texting a message in. All you have to do is, go to your comment section and fill out a question about CPS or what I can do to help you. This show is strictly about CPS, so keep your questions to CPS. All I ask is your name and then the city and state or the country you're from. It helps me set where in the country that CPS is different or whatnot. And so far, most of you have pretty much concur that everywhere it's bad. It's really bad. So please text in your message. I will do my best to talk to you. I'm not a professional attorney, but I'm a person that's well educated. I'm a husband, and I'm also a father. I have 6 children. And unfortunately, in my later years, CPS decided to interfere with my life and actually traffic my 3 children into foster care. It was a terrible, terrible experience what they can do. I didn't know much at the time. I wish I had known what I know now because it would never have happened. Now, another way you can interact with this podcast is to call in. I'd love to have you talk on the podcast. You'll be talking to my speakerphone on my phone. My office number is 626-698-0990. That's my office number. And you'll be able to talk on my speakerphone and everybody will hear. And maybe it's better that way we can concentrate on helping you or helping your case. Now, if you don't want to talk right now, I'm going to talk a later date. You can also be a guest on my podcast. I'd love to have you as my guest. You don't have to worry if you don't want to be on camera. You don't have to. Just your voice will appear. But you may, as a guest, you have been with me the full hour. And there's 14 shows you can be a guest on, Monday through Sunday, from 10 in the morning for 1 hour and 7 o'clock at night for 1 hour. And those times are Pacific Standard Times. I'm on the West Coast in Southern California. So I'm 3 hours behind you guys on the East Coast. And if you people in Australia, you're 6 hours behind me the next day. Is how I look at it. You're about 19 hours ahead of me. So anyway, you can call in and chat about your CPS case. The third way is that if you want to be a guest on my show at later time, you would email my producer, Grace. I want to thank very much. She does a hard job there working. She's glad you put on my show as a guest. She'll tell you what you need and so forth. All you need to do is write her an email. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. So that's the third way you can interact with this podcast. Either text me a message or call into my office phone or be scheduled as a guest on the podcast. Now I do this 7 days a week, 2 shows a day, a morning show, an evening show. The only exception to my time is on Sunday. I start at 8 a.m. instead of 10. So on Sunday, it's at 8 a.m. instead of 10. So with that being said, that's how you interact. And so I want to thank all the listeners for helping making this podcast and helping others in there. It's amazing the stories that I come up with. They're from all over the place. And one thing you all have in common is that you're caught off guard and your children were actually taken from you when you didn't they're not endangered. They're not in danger. They're still taken. Oh boy, my mouth is dry. So you're stuck with this predicament. What is CPS? Who are they? Well, their history goes way back to colonial time, to 1875, and they did nothing. I don't know why they divide their history in 3 parts. And then from 1875 to 1962 is the second period of CPS. And the final period is from 1962 to present day. And most of the things that happen with CPS has happened since 62. So that's a little bit about the history. It is important that it was established to protect our children. I sometimes wonder, because there was a drunk man yesterday, and he gave a homeless woman $20 to watch his granddaughter while he went in the bar and drank some more. He came back later and found his daughter gone, so he called the police. They had a search and so forth. They found the daughter. The homeless woman heard about it and returned the daughter to the place there. She was perfectly fine. The homeless woman did very little. She had to get some food, and she went to one of the food places. And so she took care of his granddaughter. I don't know if CPS is involved or not. I don't know what he's doing with his granddaughter, but there are times that CPS is necessary, but they never seem to be around. They also seem to attack people that are low income or homeless, and they are based on false accusations by lay people that maybe don't want to help or hurt family members, relatives, friends, call in and use it as a tool for their own means. Like if a neighbor is upset with another neighbor, he'll call in on that number and says he has a CPS problem. It's bad. It's rampant. So CPS that I've experienced and the ones I've talked to, over 500 some people, are not your friend. They tell you something to lift your hearts up and then they cancel it. They're not transparent. There's a lot of deception goes on, and they're full of lies. I always say it's a story like Alice in Wonderland. You've fallen into a rabbit hole and you enter all these doors that go nowhere, and you talk to all these people that go nowhere. And it's like a spider weaving a web around you and drawing you in deeper and deeper. And so that's bad news. But the good news is there is help. But you yourself have got to educate yourself. You got to really go on the internet and search topics about it. You got to make sure you arrange your words so the search topics are correct. It's important you list the most important word you're trying to find first, followed by the other words. And that's how you can research it, and you can find a lot. You can fill in the welfare institution code. Each state has a CPS um, website that you can go to and read. Some of them have orientation manuals, some have other things there, and they do the do's and don'ts and everything like there. So it's all available there. But what you're going to find out with the CPS agency, most of them are not educated. Most of them don't have a college degree in social work. None of them have really taken classes in social work. And it's a shame because they should be a degree in social work they should get. And on top of that, they should have a license as renewable, that they have to keep abreast of changes. Just like a doctor gets a license, a lawyer has a license. There's certain professions that require license, and I think CPS should too. Because they are bad from my experience. Just the other day I was looking at the internet, and on the year 2022 in Prescott, Arizona, 8 social workers were displayed on the internet with a pink t-shirt, and on the stenciling it says, "We are professional child kidnappers." And on the back it said, "Where are your parents?" I mean, do you know where your parents are? Excuse me. Do you know where your children are? Oh boy, I said that wrong. Do you know where your children are? And if you can picture that image, that sticks in my head every day, of what kind of caseworkers. They had over 25 years of experience, the 8 of them did. And they all were fired because they paraded around in a store, and that was inappropriate. The director of the Prescott CPS was also fired. So they did the right thing by firing them all, but I don't know if the problem still persists, because everybody here has been telling me that their case is horrible. Their case is horrible. And I hope I can explain or answer your questions to the best of my ability here and find out for you how to deal with this horrible agency. Now, in my case, I started off in 2010 when I lost my job through no fault of my own. I was age 60 and lost my job. I was not aware that my family members, my in-laws, were calling in to complain about me and my wife, her mother, her sister, and stuff, that we weren't taking care of the children. And they were making stupid accusations. They said they didn't have food in the house. They didn't have utilities on. They didn't go to school. Well, when I met with a social worker, and I showed her, and I let her in my house like a mistake it was, but I showed her the refrigerator was full and that we had plenty of food for the children. I showed her their grade reports showing they're doing straight A's in their respective schools. I showed her how I pay all the utility bills and showed how they were paid and stuff. So there's nothing that was true about what was being alleged. But these family members kept pursuing it, and I didn't know they were doing this, but they called again and again. And one of the family members is a social worker, and she was using her experience to say things that weren't true. So I was caught up for 5 years dealing with this horrible agency hounding me every time they got a phone call from a layperson. Now, what I mean by layperson is people that don't work with children as professional, meaning like nurses and teachers and counselors and policemen and firemen, all work with children. So they need to be uh, they put their complaints in by phone, and it's the lay people that have hurt me. And boy, I was beat up so bad. And they did this for 5 years, and I disproved them. During those next 5 years up to 2015, I was looking for work and having a difficult time because at my age, because I was 60 when I was laid off, they think that people over 50 should not work. They're too old to work, which I think is wrong. I think if you feel healthy enough and you can work, you should work. So I was at a struggle there. I was at a complete struggle. Dealing with an agency that is corrupt, dealing with in laws that could care nothing, they just wanted our children. My wife's mother and father and three sisters and a brother were all the time spreading false rumors and so forth. And it's sad. It really is sad. But they persevered. They persevered and constantly harassed me. And I would tell them the truth and stuff there. Finally, in 2015, they enlisted the help of a police detective to track me down and bring me back to the house. I was not aware that you do not give permission to social worker police to enter your home unless they have a warrant. You don't need to talk to them. Um, I was wondering, I also should have got an attorney then. I was unemployed. Money was hard because I was trying to keep my home, didn't want to lose it. So I thought I could do it myself. I thought they were reasonable people, they're honest people, and I thought I could prove that they're wrong in what they're doing. Well, instead, the detective found out where I was picking up my youngest at school and followed me to where at a point he could call his black and white to pull me over because he was an unmarked car and he probably would think that I wouldn't want to stop for him. And I knew something was weird. It was like the last trip I picked up my son at school. We were going downtown to pick up my wife, who had done some errands. And I'm going southbound along the coast, and all of a sudden, a black and white goes by me, and then it frantically makes a U turn, and it puts its lights on and pulls me over. And I said to myself, okay, what's this about? I had my seatbelt on. My son had his seatbelt on and had my driver's license, all that. My hands on the steering wheel. But the officer came up and said, did you know that you ran a stop sign? I said, what stop sign? I mean, the stop sign that was 15 miles back, and that you could have pulled me over sooner than that. And he said, the officer behind me wants to talk to you. So that's how you got the detective talking to me. And the detective was wearing his battle fatigues, his combat boots, and he looked very intimidating. And he says, you're coming home with me. I said, why? And he wouldn't tell me. He didn't tell me to share a warrant or anything. It was illegal what he did. But I didn't know better. I thought it really was something concerning my home. When I got to my home, in the front yard were all these people. There was 5 firemen, 3 social workers, 2 uniformed policemen, and the detective. So anyway, I got out of my car with my son, and these people all want to come inside my home, and I didn't know that I could have denied that. So I took them in my home, and they saw the contents of my home with my parents' belongings stacked up. And it looked kind of cluttered. My parents were dying, and I was sorting through their material things of 55 years of marriage. They had a 4,000 square foot home. And I was trying to work in the time frames of shipping the stuff off to families and friends or tell them how they could pick it up. But I was dealing with the grief of my mom and dad. They didn't care. They did not care. So they wrote me up for neglect and took my children while they were at school. They weren't endangered. I should have fought it. I should have let them in. I should have told them, hey, look, I need to speak to my attorney. That was a red flag with all those people before I let you in, because they would have to get a warrant or something like that. And that's what I should have done. I didn't. I thought I could be honest with them. And it became a double whammy. The police detective was investigating me and charged me criminal. Well, he didn't charge any criminal charges. The social workers were investigating too, but I later found out the district attorney had filed a complaint of 6 misdemeanors, 3 counts of neglect and 3 counts of sexual, and they wouldn't define what the sexual were. I found out later that that's the typical thing that the police do, because they use it as a trading card, meaning they drop those charges and accept the other charges. I didn't know all this thing. I did not know. So anyway, I'm sitting there wondering, how in the world can my boxes from my parents fly upstairs and attack my children in bedroom? Or how could the furniture walk upstairs and attack my children? Yes, it was cluttered, but people still get around. They said, well, it's too high. I said, all my children are higher than the boxes. They're 9, 12, and 15. And they know pretty much how to defend themselves and take care of themselves. But they're looking for excuses to remove my children and to unrest them. I mean, it was terrible. I had to deal with the first time of going to the court, and see the investigation. They met with me. I should never have talked to them. I said too much. I thought they were my friends and they would help me. Instead, they lied. That's the part that disturbs me. A government agency is supposed to protect you, your children, and they lie. It's all because of the $50 billion business they have going with children in custody. The government pays them like $20,000 per child per month. So with 3 of my children in there, it was really bad. And I was trying to fight for myself. I even had a meeting with the director of CPS, and it was worthless. He was in the Taj Mahal of a building. It looked like the Emerald City, the Wizard of Oz. And he had so much gold around his neck, I thought he was going to fall over. Sometimes I may close my eyes a moment. It's only because I wear contacts. Sometimes I think about what I'm going to say next. This material sometimes gets old and dry, and I know you probably don't want to hear any more about my case. But I tried to fight with them for a year and a half without an attorney. It was a wasted effort. Until I hired an attorney, and that leads into my first rule, is that I should have hired an attorney at the beginning of my case. That way I would have got back all my children. Instead, I lost one. That was our precious daughter, 12 years old. And, because I hired an attorney, the CPS was retaliating. They're so evil. I cannot believe what they did. They violated all my constitutional rights, all my civil rights, every one of them. They didn't care. They knew they had me because I didn't have a job and could use the public defender, but the public defender was a waste of time. He barely knows his stuff. He's barely in law school, and he has a caseload of 30 clients, so he can't do the things they tell you he's supposed to do. They're supposed to meet with you before the hearing. You're supposed to see the petition, not at the hearing, but they don't do that. They keep you always on the go where you have to wait to see your paperwork when it's presented in court. And that's wrong. That's deception. That's not being transparent. That's deception. It's not being transparent. So when I finally realized that I met with the attorney and he explained to me, he says, by you not having an attorney, it's like open heart surgery. If you're going to need open heart surgery, you're not going to get a layperson to open up your chest. You're not going to get a plumber or an auto mechanic to work on your chest. You're going to get a professional doctor that has experience. And that's what you need for CPS, a professional family law attorney. And I have one right now. His name is Vincent W. Davis. He owns the firm Vincent W. Davis Associates that produces this podcast. He has a list of attorneys that fight other areas that he can help out with. He's been doing the family law for 35 years or more. And he's good at what he does. He has fought CPS. He has gotten children back. In fact, he's sued CPS and won in both state and federal court. So you're in a dilemma, you don't know what to do. Well, he charges a fee of $60 for 30 minutes to talk about your case. That's a good charge. That's a good fee. You can afford $60 to take care of your children. I know it may be hard and rough, but there are things around you could say about protecting your children and whatnot. So when I met with him, he was so great. He knew all the answers. And right now he has a consultation of $60 for 30 minutes. Well worth every penny you put in there. That's $60 for 30 minutes of his time. And he will help you by giving you ideas of how to fight your case and get your children back. CPS is a long process. It's a minimum of 1 year, but it could be longer. With me, it was 3 years. And so they will stretch it and elongate it out. And they always say they're trying to do family reunification, but I don't think they know what the family reunification is, because the direct owners are all in the bridge there, and there should be a way to go in there and take them and then question them under oath. Now, what I'm saying is that you need to have a real attorney. Now, people ask me, I can't afford one. And I know that. I hear you. I couldn't either. I had to sell my home to get my attorney. So anyway, rule number 1 to find an attorney is you put in the search window in your browser, and you say find in, and you list the city you're living in, and a big city. If the big city is the city you live in, you don't have to do it once. So you say find in, and let's say you are Peduncle, city is Peduncle, and the next biggest city is Boston. It's in Massachusetts. So then what you want to do is you want to further say, find a pro bono. That's an attorney that doesn't charge anything and that can help your case out. And it's paid by them. And you can work out something there. But anyway, you want to say after find pro bono, you want to say family law attorney. Now you're going to get a list in there, and you have the big city it's going to show. And you have to pick 10 names you're going to call. The reason why you're going to call these 10 names is to see if they're in business, if they do CPS cases, and they do not charge, or they charge very little. And that's what the pro bono is. Once you've determined all that, then you're going to have to narrow your list of 10 down to 5. And I want Vincent Davis to be one of the 5 people you call and have a consultation. Now with him, you just call his number 888-888-6582 and say that Bob Pace sent you and you'd like to have a consultation with Mr. Davis for 30 minutes. And they'll arrange it. They'll arrange it and take the payment. Also, you can go on the website there and check out his site, his schedule, and so forth. You type in the whole thing at the bottom of my screen. It said consultation with attorney Vince Davis, care of Bob Pace, Canlility.com. The law offices of Vincent W.D. / Bob Pace. So you put that whole thing in there, it'll take you to the website. So now you have your first attorney that you can have a consultation of the 5 you need to determine the 5 from the list of 10. So that's rule number 1. And when you get the attorney, your weight off your shoulders will be fine. You just got to make sure he works for you because you're paying him. You got to make sure he works for you because you're paying him. Now, I have 2 other rules I like to talk about. Rule number 2 is a paperwork rule, and it's where you can keep track of your paperwork. I didn't do it. I had it sporadically all over everything. The first step is you want to get a 3-inch notebook, and you want to put in 500 pages of notebook paper. And so anyway, you got this notebook. You stick the paper in, and you want to get some subject tabs. And you want to label the first one as incidents. Now, on your notebook paper, you can take it out. It's a 3-ring binder or whatnot, and you list the date and the time of the incident followed by the people involved. It was 2 social workers, or it was Tom and Mary. It was 3 policemen. It was the children. It was whatever it is. You write that in. And then below that, you write what the incident was about. They took your children to their office. They came into your home. They served you a petition. Whatever they did, you want to write down all the incidents. You write them in date order so it keeps easy to keep track of them. So you got ahead and put in their phone number and where to make the phone call at. And then all you need to do then is keep writing the incidents in there. Skip a couple lines. So you have the date, time, and the people involved, the description of the incident, and then you want to have the outcome of the incident. It may not know right now at the moment. It may be a year down the road. But you have an incident there that is supposed to take care of your situation there. so that you can refer to it. So you look back at your notes. Because a year and a half, no, you will not remember. And that's why it's important to take notes. Your second tab would be all the programs, parenting classes that you're taking. And you saw a counselor, did drug tests. You record all the information in there. So that's important there because you're starting to get some things settled. So then you got a third tab, and you can put down your websites, your phone numbers of places that you contacted to help you with CPS. Also, if you get paperwork from the agency, such as report stuff, you can punch holes in them and stick them in to your document folder, your data in there, and so forth. Or you can create a separate tab and do it at the back of the notebook. The notebook is yours to use and design what works best for you, but have it with you at all times. Have it with you at all times. Now, I want to welcome Ariana, I think from Utah. I think she's from Utah, if I'm not mistaken. If you want to call in and finish your story, you can. She's from Salt Lake City, Utah, and she talked on my show last night. Oh, good. We got my co-host. Oh, what a savings. Yay. Yay. Welcome, Danielle. Oh, you're my lifesaver. You're my hero.
What's going on? Sorry.
Trying to go through this material very slowly.
Oh, okay. Like the rules and everything?
I just given the rule number 2. All I have is one more rule, and then it's all ours to talk about. I think her name is Ariana from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay.
This person is A7H3NA, and she was on her show last night. Do you remember her?
Yeah, I remember her. And
I've welcomed her, and I've told her that if she wants to call in, she can.
Okay.
And my phone number is posted at 626-698-0990. And we have Danielle, who has had a CPS problem herself. And she has another area of CPS that failed her. Her son was taken out of state from Georgia to Texas to help make his special needs. Her mother had been his caretaker, but when she died, the CPS system in Georgia did not bother to contact the mother, or they said they weren't able to contact. Whatever the reason is, the mother was not contacted. So by the time she found out, she had a difficult time talking to CPS. Meanwhile, they shipped her son. Well, by him waiting in Texas for his special help, he's a filter care. He turned 18, so now he's an adult. So Danielle switched gears and is going to file for adult guardianship of her son and take care of his special needs. Yeah. And it's about 10 days away. She'll get the good news, which I am so happy for because she's waited a long time. He's had a rough road in her life. And she right now takes care of her brother who has special needs. She's a remarkable woman to anybody that wants to take care of special needs. All of you in this room are remarkable people because you're in here and you care about your child. That's why you're here. That's why you're here.
That's a big
Now, my rule number 3 to wrap it up is I started talking to you earlier this morning, but it's where you start off with CPS and police and you say the word no. I talked to him about my case, Danielle, and I told him how the police officer tricked me in. I should have said no to him coming in the home. And I should have said, when you say no to social workers, you be polite. Do not be rude. Just say that I need to speak to my attorney regarding this. I need some time. And could you give me your business card, or can I see your badge number, or can I see your ID? so I can write down the information about you and get back to you. And
But they
that's a
probably
great way
acted.
to break the ice,
Mhm.
a great way to protect them. Don't walk in the home. Do not
Right.
let them in the home. That is
Protect
a
your
no.
home.
You
That's your
know,
safe
and don't
haven. That's your
don't give them your children. See, that's another
no.
thing. They're going to try to get there. They need a warrant to get in your home. If you refuse, they're not get permission.
Warrant or court order.
A lot of times they don't have the warrant, or they have a fake warrant. You got to look at that warrant, make sure it's you, make sure there's a wet signature from the judge, make sure they're very specific of what they're wanting to look at your home for. You know, they want to have the allegations listed. They want to have your name listed. They want to have the children listed,
Right.
and they,
What you're being accused of.
you know, and what your
Allegations are.
what your allegations are. So it's really important. This piece of
Is it
paper.
supposed to have where they're going to be taking the children, or who's taking the kids?
Well, it's
like
on there.
if
Yeah,
they-
it says this is
okay.
a court order
So
issued
they're
by the
supposed
Orange Court of Superior Courts in the detention court or the family court, and they will be taking your children. Right, it's on there. A lot of times, social workers will use a drawer full of copies. They'll take one warrant from another case and try to use it and flash it, wave in your face, but you don't have time to read it. You need to read it. You need to make sure of it. If you're in your home and you have a window next to the door, you can look out the window and they can hold it up to the glass. I just prefer you just do not say anything, do not open the door. And if there's a card or something at the front door, then you know who's been by.
Right.
And so a lot of people, you know, you'll get phone calls from suddenly it'll say private number. I hate those. I know it's important because they don't want to give out information about them, but police and social workers will use it to trick you. So do collection agencies. There are so much deception in a lot of people and a lot of different things. But here we are to talk about CPS. So you said no to the social worker, you said no to the policeman, you don't let them in your home, and you don't let them take your children. They have to have a court warrant that says specifically they can take your children. Now, part of this thing is called medical trafficking, and that's where you go to the hospital because your child's sick at night, heaven forbid, and you want to have a urgent care look at them and so forth. Well, you got to be careful because the hospitals now have full-time CPS workers working, their social workers, and they're going to try to take your children from the hospital if you disagree with the doctor's findings. If you think that you need to have a second opinion, that's your prerogative. It's nothing that you have to do, that doctor. You still have your medical rights. One thing is they have to take your medical rights and your civil rights away before they can enact all the stuff they're trying to enact towards you.
Here you go.
They're trying to do.
Come up.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Daniel.
No, I was just saying if this was going to come up real quick so I can show you. On the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it, get it up, but dang it, it's not. The screen's. It's the professional shirt, or like the background, and that's what with what you were just saying. It's cut half of it off though. That sucks. I need to go make it smaller, but like here's some of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's cutting off the do you know where children are? It's cutting off that part of it, but here I go. Here we go. I'm gonna have to make it smaller, but see how it says professional. Well, see how it says professional kidnapper behind me here.
Yeah,
and then
professional kidnapper.
Yeah, and then
do you know where your children are at?
Yeah, right over here.
Danielle's referring to, and I want you all to think about in your mind. And
I was just thinking about them window shopping at the hospital.
The beginning of the show, that there were 8 social workers in Prescott, Arizona, that decided to get T-shirts made. They're in pink, and on the front they said that they're professional kidnappers. And on the back is that, do you know where your children are? And they wore this out in the public, and they of course got flack. They got fired, and the director of Prescott
said it was supposed to be a prank or something. I don't
know. It was bad taste because it makes you think These are 8 social workers with
Mhm.
these shirts on in public. They have over 25 years of experience in social work, so there's no excuse. But
Mm-mm.
it's the mentality of social workers, and they're covering it up because they got caught up in the money part of things, being $50 billion, being
It's
$50 there. Bye
wow.
bye, son. Love you. All right. Oh, that's my son taking off to work. Oh, God.
Okay. Does he drive to work?
Yep. He
Oh,
learns right. He's come along. That's one of my 2
good.
boys, and he's come
Awesome.
along. CPS really messed him up, and he now is trying to recuperate. That's the sad part. That's all you should know out there. CPS ruins your children.
Mm-hmm.
They alienate your children. They corrupt your children. They do really mean, nasty things to them. And as I was
Horrible.
telling about my story earlier, when they took my
Uh-huh.
daughter, that was in retaliation because we were doing a cross examine by our attorney. We had 2 attorneys, Vincent Davis and Art. I forgot his last name. Art. Anyway, the 2 attorneys were cross examination of the social worker, and she lied on the stand.
Mm.
And it was so sad that she blamed, and we caught her with a lie.
Oh
And
wow.
she said that she was going to retaliate. And that's another thing. These social workers do retaliation big time. They'll say
Yeah.
one thing and do another.
Right.
And so they told our daughter at 12, you're going to divorce your parents, you're going to change your name, you're going to seal your birth certificate, and you're going to be adopted. And she did all those things. At 12, she didn't know any better. She thought maybe that's a way to get back with the parents. I don't know.
It's
But she did all those
it's
things. And I'll
sad
never
what people
forget
do.
the judge asked her, and she said, do you know, he said that to my daughter who was on video cam, but we couldn't see her. But she said, do you know that you're also divorcing your brothers and your grandparents and your cousins and all family members
Wow.
who do that? And it was a tragic moment in my heart. It sunk.
Yeah, it's like it takes your whole life. Like it's just like a
Oh, it
hollow.
does. It does. It
It's
does.
it's
There's a day or moment goes on that my wife and I do not think about our daughter and what she
I,
did. What she did.
and it's just like the thing how can these people sleep at night just knowing that I
Well, you
mean
got those 8 social workers in Prescott, Arizona, wearing
yeah
proudly these T-shirts, so that's how they sleep. It's the money. It's the money
that's
has
money.
taken part of and it's everywhere. It's not only
Oh yeah.
us; it's the United Kingdom and the
Mm-hmm.
other countries that I talked about earlier that have called in. It is happening. They say it's really
You know,
bad
I
in Wales and it's really bad in United Kingdom. So,
in
uh,
Australia, I was reading, listening to something last night. It was like later on in the night. It was something about. Oh wow, why did it do that? It was something about what am I saying? It was something about Australia. Their they're reforming their family courts and their defects out there, and they're changing a lot of stuff, and I think that's awesome. I mean, the stuff that they're doing, it's gonna be awesome out there. Like I love it. I love the idea of it. And this, I mean, the people out there are they're actually looking forward to it, and it was like a big thing on I think it was TikTok. But yeah, because I haven't heard like much about Australia, and I just when I saw this lawyer and she was talking about how the big changes are coming, and so maybe it's starting to.
well, it's called the CPS 230 regulation in Australia.
There we go.
It says it's coming up. It's going to uh, bring forth a pivotal
Mm-hmm.
transformation in how financial institutions manage operational risk and uphold their resilience. And
Mm-hmm.
what that means is that the regulatory changes necessitate a holistic approach, embracing advancement in technology, supplier management, and diligent compliance with contractual arrangements. What they're making it is sounds like they're making them held accountable for the money they receive from the
Mm-hmm.
government.
Yes. because that's like here in the U.S. if they get sanctioned by the federal government, they'll lose all that federal funding. And in Texas, Judge Janice Jack right now she's wanting them to pull all the out of state kids that's in the foster system from out of state back to their home states, and she's gonna start cracking down the whip on not the whip, but crack down on the CPS system out there, and she's gonna sanction them. And she said for every sanction, they're gonna lose a month or more of their federal funding. Like they're gonna lose it all for one whole month. And I mean, and she wasn't playing either. Like she said, this has been going on her like discipline or sanctions or holding them accountable since 2011, and we're sitting here in 2024, and it's, oh man, it's crazy and it's gotten worse than what it was. I would think. I think because stuff that I've seen like Nancy Schaefer. I don't know if you ever heard of her. She was a senator, and she's the one that got unalived because of her voice and her opinion. I don't know if you ever heard about her. She was here in Georgia, I think. But they just had April 10th. They just had a bunch of new findings with CPS out here in Georgia. And oh my gosh, there was like 400 something kids that were sex trafficked. And what else was it? There was some that died. And they've had they've had about 4 or 5 just in the last 3 or 4 months pass away that were in CPS custody, or where CPS could have, a mom drowned her kid out here, and they could have stopped that. They could have prevented that if they were worried about the right thing, you know. I guess the mom had mental health issues. I don't know, but yeah, it was horrible. I was listening to that this morning. There's a lot more kids being done wrong and getting unalived, and it's horrible. Like their own parents.
Right. Well, they have their 2019 Child Guardian Act. There's a lot of history you have to look at. It's not really applicable for the show. It is about CPS, but it just shows that the big factor is the money part. The money part has become worldwide agreed. When you've got a social worker that has paid bonuses to keep the case open, to take your children, and I'm talking about big bonuses, enough that he buys a new Gucci purse every week. Our social worker did.
Like the caseworker on my case told my aunt that she was going on vacation. She'll see her when she gets back. I said, right. Like, okay. Oh, I mean, that just, okay, must be nice. Like it's why, for one, your job is to keep families together, not separate them. And 2, why are you going to like glorify in going on vacation when this is a family struggling, you know? Like, that's rude.
They're allowed to go on vacation. You know, everybody gets a vacation.
Course, but they don't have to like brag about it.
Keep it discreet about it. You know, and they boast. My social worker used to talk about her new eyelashes, her new eye makeup, her clothes, her BMW car, her Gucci purse. That was the theme of the talk, and that led me to believe that that's what she is interested in, is the monetary value. She wasn't trained. She had no college degree. She had no license or certificate that has to be renewed, and there's no accountability. And as I told the people listening, that I went to the top dog, and I tried to deal with the director, and it was just a wasted time, because he has a Taj Mahal of a building. It's like the Emerald Green City of the Wizard of Oz. And he who had so much gold around his neck, I thought he'd fall over. I felt like, well, maybe we need to support him up so he doesn't fall over. Anyway, it was a very bad experience. So rule number 1 says you get an attorney. Now, going back to rule number 3, I want to finish off with the trafficking, the medical trafficking. When they go into the hospital these days, they are there to get their children feeling better, but sometimes they disagree with the doctor, or they want to see their own doctor, or they want a second opinion. CPS is stepping in the middle of things and taking the child illegally from them. And they say, well, you're refusing the doctor's order. It says, no, parents have medical rights. They determine, long as the child's being helped. And if they go to another doctor, there's nothing wrong with that. If a parent lets a child die in front of them at their home without medical attention, that's another thing. I'm talking about parents that, want to better their child, or maybe their insurance won't cover it at that place. They need to go to another. They are taking an active search for that. And
at least they got out there and
jump in and take the children wrong, illegally. And on top of that, they also, if you're in the hospital giving birth, and let's say you test negative, but your child tests positive, they're going to take the child from you. Or if you test positive, but your child tests negative, they'll still take the child from you. So what you need to do is tell them, please go to another room. This is a birthing room. Only people are invited. And tell the hospital staff, please get these individuals. They'll come in with police. You tell the police nicely and the social, I do not give you permission to enter this room. I did not give you permission to take my child. The only way they're going to take the child is they had a court order.
Right.
And I don't think they get court orders that fast.
No. They don't get them that.
Be careful on medical trafficking. We have CPS runs a legitimate trafficking of our children. They're professional kidnappers. I have 8 social workers that believe that. 8 social workers. I've only had on the show one guest and one social worker who talked for 40 minutes about doing social work in Maryland, which is far different than the other individuals that talked to me from Maryland. But she was nice. She was pleasant. I talked to her, and then she left. I had hoped that she'd come back. But someone
told me. And she hadn't been back?
No, and then somebody told me that she may have gone snooping in the room because one of my hosts, Kay, was involved.
Okay. Have you heard from Kay?
No, she was sick. Remember the other day that she was told sick, and so I don't know if she's any better or something. I hope she's better because she hasn't listened. In fact, I'm not seeing too many of our listeners.
No,
Ron was supposed to call in this morning from Salt Lake City, Utah, and he didn't call in.
I know. I don't know what's going on like over here on this side of the U.S., but the networks are AT&T. I don't know what to say about them, but it's not very good.
That's sad.
And the weather. Well, there's also been some bad weather too.
Right, Michigan had tornadoes. Maryland had heavy rains and thunder.
Tennessee had tornadoes.
Lightning. Tennessee, it moved from Tennessee up there, and then also Texas has had bad weather too.
Yeah,
Well, right now we're doing pretty good on time. We got our rules done. We talked about how they interact with the show. If some of you would like to call in tonight, you're welcome to call. My number's there, 626-698-0990. You can call in tonight. You can also be a guest on my show tonight. Just let Grace at vincentwdavis.com. Send her an email. Tell her you want to be in tonight's show, and you can be on there. So
she's really good about communicating.
Yeah, we got about a minute here, so we got to sign off. I know that. Are you going to be able to come on tonight, you think?
Yeah, I'll be here.
All right, good. I'll see you. Athena, I think that's your name. I want to say Athena, but it's probably Ariana. Maybe it's Ariana. Anyway.
It looks like Athena.
Maybe it was.
3 NA.
Yeah, I want to thank you for writing in. I hope that we're helping you. I hope all the listeners, and thank you for the thumbs up and the hearts and the people watching this particular podcast. God bless you all, and I want you all to very much keep pursuing your children. You will get them back. Just be patient and listen to the 3 rules.
Give up.
And don't give up. Thank you, Danielle, for coming in this morning, and I'm going to sign off. This is Danielle, and Bob, sign off. God bless you all.